Joining me on set, NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone and Nevada Republican Congressman Mark Amodei. Thank you both for being here. Jacob, I want to go to you because you have spent some time traveling around here in Reno, one of the states, as John Ralston mentioned, hit hardest by the recession a few years ago. But here, they've made kind of a strong recovery. A really strong recovery. For decades, really, they were the other casino mecca, and they did really well. They lived up to their nickname, biggest city in the world. But even before the recession hit, they were struggling and struggling hard. But all it took, really, was one big company taking a big chance.
When Chloe Griffin graduated from Purdue University in May, the last place she thought she'd end up is Reno, Nevada.
I was on the East Coast. I didn't really imagine myself coming here, but I'm so glad I did. Reno is an awesome city.
The Reno Amazon Fulfillment Center opened a couple of years ago, and Chloe joined the team as a floor manager this summer.
It's kind of hard to imagine what it was like during the recession.
You don't even know.
I don't even know. I wasn't even here.
Reno was a struggling casino town even before the recession hit. Then the local economy really collapsed. Casinos filed for bankruptcy. 40% of homes went into foreclosure. Unemployment spiked. Reno had hit rock bottom, but as the new mayor likes to say, the only way to go was up.
When I got into office, unemployment was at 13%, and now we're down to 3.9%. We really had to look at ourselves and say, how are we going to reinvent ourselves?
And almost overnight, they did, starting with Tesla, which agreed to build its $5 billion lithium-ion battery facility in the area, creating thousands of jobs. Google paid $29 million for 1,200 acres nearby. Apple invested $2 billion in a new data center, and Amazon moved its fulfillment center to Reno.
We didn't leave New York. We found Reno. It's a very special place.
Heather Goldman is CEO of Capstack, one of dozens of startup companies making Reno a new, cheaper Silicon Valley.
It's easy to get lost in the weeds in Palo Alto and in Manhattan. And in Reno, we were able to hire a world-class development team, a world-class marketing team.
4 hours away in San Francisco, the average home costs $1.4 million. Here, $350,000. And in Reno, there's no corporate or personal income tax, among other incentives.
There's more demand than we can physically build. It's kind of like drinking water from a fire hydrant.
Fourth-generation Nevadan Todd McKinsey runs a local commercial construction company.
We're standing on the first spec office development since in at least a decade. With 50,000 jobs over the next few years, we're calculating about 5,000 office or professional jobs.
It also means new restaurants and coffee shops, bars and grocery stores, all less than an hour from Lake Tahoe and the Sierra Nevada mountains. For Chloe, it means a new home.
Reno is really booming now, so even since I've gotten here, it's grown so much.
The biggest little city in the world living up to its nickname and proving recession can lead to innovation. And of course, with such explosive growth so fast, there are challenges. Available housing, affordable housing. But Hallie, everybody we talk to is just thrilled. And they say that there are ways that other people can do this. You can't have one industry. You can't just be dependent on casinos.
It has to be sort of more broad than that.
And they're not just tech, and there are a lot of things, and it doesn't hurt to be close to California.
Congressman, can you weigh in on that here? Because one of the questions I have for you is when you look at what's happening here in Reno, what are the lessons that can be applied to other states, to other cities that are still struggling to come back?
Well, the competition out there is getting tough from other areas, too. We have a lot of nice stuff to sell. Proximity to California, lifestyle, you're 4 hours from San Francisco, you're 4 hours from the desert. So there you go. But, it's really a question of what's the tax climate, what's the regulatory climate, what's the climate, and so you've got a bunch of folks here in Western Nevada that are can-do folks.
Before we got to Jacob's piece there on Reno, we heard from voters here in Nevada who talked a lot about tax reform, which is an issue that the president, I know from my time covering him in the White House, wants to push, and it's an issue that seems to have penetrated for voters. You were on the Appropriations Committee. How likely is it we're actually going to see tax reform by the end of 2017, honestly?
Well, I can speak from my perspective in the House. We've committed to doing it. We have to get it done before the year's over. And we have to get it done in, well...
What does that mean? Get it? I mean...
You've asked me, so I'll tell you, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there's things to work out. Paul Ryan dropped his border tax program.
Right.
We dropped that before we left for August. So it's like, hey, I expect that Kevin Brady and the Ways and Means folks will be moving full speed ahead when we get back the day after Labor Day.
And then do you think it'll get through the Senate as it needs to?
You know what? That's a great question, and I'm just glad I work on the south side of the dome.
Are you dissatisfied with what you're seeing from your colleagues in the other chamber?
You know what? All I'm going to say is it's a discouraging thing when politics totally overtakes an issue, and that happens on both sides right now. So I think it's an endemic thing. It's like, listen, healthcare is solvable. It's a complex problem, but if you focus on trying to be in the political sweet spot that I don't think exists, then guess what? You got to get back to the issue, and it's the same with tax reform.
It sounds like you're alluding to Senator Heller there when you talk about being in the political sweet spot. Are you?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. I'm alluding to most of my colleagues where you're sitting there trying to be all things to all people. It's like, if there's a sweet spot in healthcare, please share it with the nation.
You confident in the president's leadership after what you've witnessed over the past couple of weeks from President Trump?
I'll tell you what I like about it is they're continuing to push. Some days I'm wondering about just which hand is pushing how hard and in what part of the body, but they should continue to push because we need that.
I'll ask you the same question that Senator Collins answered on Monday and frankly didn't answer, which is, will you support the president's renomination in 2020?
So far, yeah, absolutely.
So far?
Yep. Well, because there's still 3 years to come.
You think something's going to happen?
I wouldn't ask somebody to support me for next year till they see what I do the rest of my term.
Interesting to say about a sitting president, though, huh?
Well, I just think people, you know, you earn your spots. I think he's done a good job of earning it so far, but he's still got the rest of his employment period to go.
Congressman, thank you very much for joining us here and for talking to us about all things national and local. I appreciate it. Jacob Rascone, thank you to you. We will see you back tomorrow, I believe, when